Oh, yeah, it's recording. So apparently I look like this, which, come on, man, I can do better than that. So this week we're typing Sarah Robb O'Hagan. If you're wondering what the music is, I found it funny to take some of the most annoying songs from the free YouTube library and incorporate them into this video. Sarah Robb O'Hagan is a CEO, author, and she comes from the land of 50 million sheep.
There's like 4 million people and almost 50 million sheep.
Her words. She's a self-described extrovert with a lot of energy. She also wrote a book in which 25 other people are telling you how to focus on yourself. So that will give us an inkling on what her type is. Or at least a coin. And if you're still wondering, yes, the music will continue to be just like this for the entire time. Also, I couldn't find her Wikipedia page, so I put up a screenshot of her LinkedIn profile.
But you have to, I believe, really feel it and process it. And if you've ever had a failure, I know in my case, I spent the first at least month telling everyone around me that it was their fault. Like, it must have been the sucky industry, the leadership, whatever. And everyone you tell that to, you can sort of see in their eyes that they don't really believe you, and that's because you don't really believe you. And then you have to just sit there and go, okay, this hurts, I'm gonna own it. But the minute you actually take ownership for it and man up and say it to someone, like in a job interview saying, I got fired because I did this, which means I will never make that mistake again, it's so empowering because you own it. You're in control of it from then on. So I do think we all tend to, it's human nature to want to cover up fails because you kind of think it's a bad thing. But when you do, it's like this scary thing that's always chasing you through life, and then maybe it's going to catch up and someone's going to find out about it one day. It's better just to feel it, own it. And then, by the way, you do get great growth, and that's what you did it for, right? I always tell people, don't fail if you're not going to get the output on the other side. For sure.
This seems to be like a clear cut of Demon DI. She's talking about recognizing her own mistakes, and she's making a kind of a big deal out of it, like it's a life discovery. So I definitely see Demon DI here.
The funniest part of the story, actually, which I didn't say in the book, was I remember when my boss at Virgin, he said to me, go fly to LA, Richard's going to be in town, go pitch it to him. And so I pitched it. And Richard just loved it immediately, and he was so into the idea. And my reaction was like, oh, but I better make sure my boss is okay with this too. And Richard's like, it's okay. I'm like, oh, okay, yeah, you do own the whole, yeah, got it. But
again, Demon DI, she's asking for permissions. She's not doing it out of her own identity. She's reaching around and searching for wherever she can get permission from.
There was once or twice where early on where they kept the trophy and I allowed them to, if we repurposed it for an achievement they were trying to do themselves. I really, really believe that it's about getting them to understand that you will be happy and fulfilled if you do whatever you do in your life off your own steam. I think that's, for me, the single biggest learning is like, don't look for shortcuts, don't look for people to give you handouts, like go figure it out for yourself, because that is what will make you the most satisfied, happy person that you can be.
It feels like she has discovered her demon FI in her life at some point, and she's now preaching it. Like, this is my biggest life discovery, and the most important thing is to be happy.
So your tagline, step up, stand out, kick ass and repeat, is that like a recipe for becoming an extremer?
Yeah, I actually like the repeat part the best, because what I did in the book is I interviewed 25 of the world's most highly accomplished people from all different walks of life, like Condoleezza Rice, the former Secretary of State, Bodie Miller, the skier, some entrepreneurs, the White House chef, like all sorts of people. And what I tried to do is distill, like, what does it take to be relentlessly successful and living at the top of your potential? And what they all do is kind of go through a cycle and get to mastery and then break themselves and start over. And so that was the notion of repeat. It's like, you don't ever get to being the top of extreme you have to keep going.
Yeah, the last chapter, break yourself to make yourself.
This for me was one of the biggest turning points in her entire story. She wrote a book with opinions from other people. And it feels really strange to me. If you're going to write a book, then at least, give your own opinion. And she does, but basically the book is about 25 other people and how they struggled in their career and how they found their passion. And it's not about her, it's about the other people. So I got some really DE vibes from just the book alone. So I thought I could prevent this kind of wide-eyed looking directly into the camera bullshit, but yeah.
So I don't spend a lot of time thinking about them because I do spend a lot of time thinking about our core consumer who's looking for something quite different. And I would say I personally learned a lot from working at a company like Virgin or Nike where they never thought about the competition and only played their own game, compared to the soda wars, Coke and Pepsi, Powerade, Gatorade, where it's a completely different mindset, and that can drag you into different places that aren't necessarily right for your consumer. So I think I came away with that going, stay focused.
What do you foresee as one of the biggest challenges facing Flywheel in the coming years?
I would say staying focused, actually, because I do think that there is a ton of excitement around the fitness category in general. I also think daily there's new technology and innovation that people knocking down our door wanting to suggest we do this, that, and the other. And I personally have found, because I have not grown up in a technology company like you all, as a CEO, it's hard to sort the real ideas from the many things that are just going to fall by the wayside, and not get distracted by the wrong one. So I actually think the opportunity is so right for us, but we have to, we've got to place the right bets and focus on them and not get too spread too thin, I would say.
In these two clips, she goes on and on about wanting to focus and wanting to stay on your path. And these are just a couple of examples of her trying to narrow down. And I'm seeing some real OI behavior in these two clips. And specifically, with the S there as well, this should be SI.
Together, and I think it's just about having the willingness to pursue new experiences, even if it means it feels like you're starting over, because you're not. You're going to be adding it to what you already had.
This is just one of the examples I could find of double observing. She's allowing in the new, and she's also organizing at the same time. And you can see it in her speech as well. She's not being hung up about things.
Definitely.
Hi. You mentioned a lot about failing early and failing fast. I was wondering if you could talk a little bit about also during the times when you have failed, how did you go about picking yourself back up?
Yeah.
What are different support networks you had to allow that introspection and get yourself to be propelled up for that post growth?
Yeah. So let's talk about failing fast for a second, and failing hard. Maybe I'll use that term, because fail fast is a big idea that thankfully that you guys have brought to the world in general, in terms of, as we are in business and thinking about innovation, trying, experimenting, iterating, rolling, moving, and we all have to be better at doing that. That is different to failure that really deeply impacts you and teaches you and actually takes you personally to another level. And
so I can see her talking about, again, demon DI and discovering that failure is part of life and is not the hardest thing to do. What's interesting here is she's even giving compliments to the people at Google for coming up with things like fail fast, and she just can't stop giving out compliments.
Want to keep you in the same place. I remember I was in the airlines for 6 years, and all I wanted to do was work for Nike. In my head, I'm a marketing person in a brand, doesn't matter what category it is, but the recruiters were like, you're an airline person. And I'm like, do I look like I sniff jet fuel? No, I'm not. I mean, you know what I mean? And so I do believe that you are the only one that can navigate yourself out of those verticals that people will put you into, and you have to do it.
I think at this point we've seen enough demon DI. Another thing I got from this clip is she puts the pressure on herself. She is expecting from herself to get out of that hole, or do what's best for her. So I'm definitely seeing some masculine DI here, but again, it's a demon. To close off, we have a couple of clips from Tom's show in which she's talking about, again, demon DI, knowing yourself, how to help other people, or helping other people is a big life force in her life. And the other one is owning your own mistakes, which seems to be a common topic with her.
You go figure out where is your mountain to climb. And I found with all of the people I interviewed for the book, that is what stood them apart. Like in every instance, they had a dream that significant, influential people in their life said, it won't work, you shouldn't, it's too risky, but it's what they cared about. No one else knows what's going on inside you except you. And I think once you know that's something you really want, just clear out the obstacles and go. I always use that story of like, the obvious question they all say is, what the hell do I say in my next interview? And I learned it the hard way from sitting in these interviews, trying to dodge the question and trying to go, oh, well, it was a company downsizing, you know, like, and it's not until, you know, because you realize when you're doing that, the person looking at you is just like, they don't believe you. And so you're like, okay, that's because I don't believe me. And as soon as you just say, hey, this is embarrassing, I don't know how to say it any other way, but here's what happened. Your vulnerability in that moment just makes that other person suddenly want to almost help and care for you, I think, and which leads to a much more open conversation. And it's very hard to do, particularly when you've just been through it, because you're at that weakest point where you feel like, God, am I ever going to get a job again? But I always tell people, just try it. Even in the most tiny way, take a step forward to acknowledging what you did and what happened, because the minute you acknowledge what you did, you have control over changing that. Yes.
What is the impact that you want to have on the world?
Yeah. So I started touching on it a little bit in terms of, I really, really want to help the high potential young people in this country and in the world who, because they were not born in the right places with the right connections to go to the right colleges to open the right doors, don't get the same opportunities. And if there's one thing I know about my own story, is like, I don't have an MBA, I didn't go to an Ivy League college, but somehow I had the right mentors and parenting to give me the grit to get around the system. And so if I can help other people see that, find that in themselves, then to me that would be amazing.
That would be amazing.
I got her as TESI. I also got masculine sensory. She seems to be able to do the timelines pretty good. And I got feminine DE. She's putting the pressure on herself. She's not allowing other people to interfere what she thinks best. So putting pressure on self. And I also got her like blast play. Pretty extroverted and sleep last. I'm pretty confident about this typing this week. Definitely seeing EJ, seeing TE as well, and extroverted energy. So I'm pretty confident on getting this right, but as always, we'll need to see after Tuesday. So, yeah,